Well, it's election season once again and time for more candidate conversations. I'm here now with Casey Salisbury, Mason County Sheriff, who is running for re-election. Hi, Casey.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And first things first, talk to us a little bit about why you want to remain in the Sheriff's office this upcoming term.
Well, Jeff, there's some more things to do in the Sheriff's office. When I started in 2007, we had a list of things to get done, and I have a couple more issues that I want to work on. And I just feel that I have the training, education, and experience to do the job.
Talk with me a little bit about that training and the experience. Your opponent comes into the race without law enforcement experience, but you don't have to be a sheriff or with law enforcement experience to run for sheriff. What is it about your background and your current working knowledge of the Sheriff's Department that makes you a better choice for this race?
Well, I think that one thing is I've got proven leadership in the state of Washington. The sheriffs of the state of Washington have elected me to be the president of Washington State Sheriff's Association, representing all the sheriffs in the state of Washington to the rest of the United States. Later after that, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, which includes the police chiefs, elected me to represent the state of Washington for the police chiefs and sheriffs to the rest of the country that we deal with on a regular basis. And that was a great honor because only a few people have held that position as a sheriff.
With those appointments, does it take away too much time for you to be the chief law enforcement officer here in the county?
No, actually being part of WASPIC, you're on this, you get to steer some of the things that go into the state legislature and comment on those when you're at that level. And you have firsthand knowledge of what the legislature is doing and what changes are going to be coming to your agency. Previous to being involved with WASPIC, we would get the changes, and sometimes we'd be way behind in Mason County because we weren't attending those conferences and things. So a year later, we'd be finding out what was happening in the rest of the state, and now we've been ahead of schedule. We know right how to be prepared for it.
So you say 8 years you've been the sheriff so far, looking for another 4. What are some of the things that you've been able to accomplish? And you said there was a couple more things that were left out there. What are those?
Well, accomplishments was first when I first came here, we had probably the oldest and worst sheriff facilities in the state of Washington. And we finally were able to work with that commission at that time and move across the street and into the new building. It was horrible conditions in the old office. The other thing that was very important at the time, and what I heard the anger was about, is the services in the north end of the county. The sheriff's office never had a true office up there. There were a couple little hole-in-the-wall closet type things that the sheriff had. We were able to, through community partnerships with business owners up there when I came in, to put the first sheriff's precincts in the north end. And we theorized that if we could put deputies in the north end of the county, put computers in the north end of the county, it would hold our deputy sheriffs up there so that they would have a full-time precinct. And we were the first in the history of the sheriff's office to do that. But I want to say that each one of the previous sheriffs ahead of me all worked on that same project, and that took all of us doing that. So I want to credit those guys for the support on doing that, but they made a huge difference. And we knew that we theorized that if we could have an office in the north end of the county, the amount of deputies that we should have or about there, that we could bring down the crime rate, and we did. And that was a huge difference for us in the county.
One of the things that often comes out in news releases and press clippings and conversations that people have are what appears to be kind of a contentious relationship between the sheriff's office and, if not the whole of the county commissioners, at least certain members on the county commission. Talk with me about this back and forth, and is it helpful to the county? Is it helpful to the voters and the taxpayers in the county? And can we get through this? Do you have plans in the next 4 years to get past all of these past contentious conversations you've had and move forward?
Well, I think, Jeff, we've been very fortunate in this last commissioner change. Commissioner has been working very closely with us. I think that in the commissioner's race that's going on right now, both of those candidates are great people. I think that they are professional people and can work through those issues without them being personal. And I think that's been the biggest problem, is that I remind people that most sheriffs in the state have a contentious issue with commissioners because it's about the money. And nobody wants to spend the money in the races for sheriff. As a matter of fact, there's been numerous sheriffs this year have decided to just step away from the office of the sheriff, do something else, or become a police chief, because it's not always begging for money. I think that the interesting part for that is that this year I'm endorsed by the neighboring county commissioners. Interestingly enough, the other piece is that I've worked with them all. And so it's interesting that I'm endorsed by each one of those. But I look forward to, I think we have the best future of the county is ahead of us right now with the changes that are being made. And I think that that's going to be a big help for us. You asked a second question in there about
well, just how you guys will be able to move forward through the next 4 years to accomplish some goals. And then let me follow up then quickly about that. Maybe one of the goals would be finally putting to rest and figuring out the jail situation.
That's the top of my priority list. I thought you were going to ask what the priorities were. And interestingly enough, that jail is an issue. And that jail was an issue when I was in high school, right after it was built, or right after I got out of high school. You look back, it wasn't built to the size it should have been then. The sheriffs at that time were arguing for the jail. The sheriffs all before me have all argued to increase the size of that jail. So it's not just me. But we know, and each of the sheriffs previous to me have said, when we're at the point when we can put people in jail and hold people accountable, the crime rate will come down. Well, as you know, we argued very, very hard to get the jail in a position to where we could put people in jail by outsourcing. Under the RCW, it's RCW 30, I believe it's 3934180. It says in there that the county must provide a place for you to hold people. And if they don't have it here, then they can outsource. We've not been following that in this county for many, many years, and I've argued that. But if you recall, when we did outsource and we had the opportunity to hold people accountable, our crime rate went down. As soon as the commission withdrew the money to do the outsourcing, which it says we must do in the RCW, as soon as that was taken away and we're not able to hold those people accountable, our crime rate's going back up. It is something that has got to be solved. And I know that one of our county commissioners, Commissioner Schutte, has been working very closely with that on it. For the first time in years, we have a commissioner really working towards that. And I believe that the next two commissioners realize that this is problematic. It's not just problematic for us right now or for me right now. If I'm not the sheriff, it's still going to be problematic for this community. It's not going to go away. And so that's a primary issue that is being worked on. I credit Commissioner Schutte for joining me on that issue. And if you've been to any of the forums, you notice what the main focus of that was by each one of the people that were running for judges candidates was saying the county needs to build a jail. And for clarification on that, read the RCW. I keep hearing the sheriff needs to do that. The facilities are the responsibility of the county government to do that, of the county commission, not of the county sheriff. I run the operations. They handle facilities.
Tell me a time when you were sensitive to the needs or feelings of someone.
Oh, gosh. I'm probably the worst for that. Some people tell me I don't do well because I deeply concerned about things. And I tell you, one of the things that it has drawn me the most over the last few years, I do 3 programs that I do as a sheriff and I will continue with. Perhaps one of my favorite is our Special Olympics athletes. And as you know, I put on the first Special Olympics fun run for the Special Olympics torch run. And that is something that I'm just drawn to, being able to contribute to the people that are involved in Special Olympics. And I spend an awful lot of time with that. And we were picked as one of the best Special Olympics fun runs or torch runs in the country last year. A second one that I am involved greatly with is Fight Crime Invest in Kids Washington. And that's a program where the sheriffs of the state of Washington and the prosecutors, we work to enhance things or make things better for kids within our community and within the system so that they have a less chance of becoming involved in crime. If that's promoting better medical situations for them, better living circumstances for them. And 2 years ago, that I was awarded by the National Fight Crime Invest in Kids as the person that handled that. I was awarded by them as for that program. And the third program that I am pretty close to me, and we're doing another one this month, is my veterans. I'm not a veteran, and I always say that because there's people that purport to be. I've had numerous generals. General Barry McCafferty came out and spoke for me one year. Each year I have at least one program dedicated to veterans, and that one is this month. And I'm very mindful of what those veterans have done for us in our country, that we're able to sit here and have an election because of those veterans. And there are so many things along that line that we're able to have because we had those people out on the front lines.
This race, the sheriff's race, has been online and out in the streets, turned into one of the most contentious of the races. Talk to me about how much, if at all, you follow the chatter out in the wild, as it were, and after the election, will it be difficult to serve all of the people of the county?
You know, interestingly, I don't know that there has been some contentious people. I hear about these things back and forth, and these people on their computers back and forth. But if you really look at that, you haven't heard me comment. I have not been on the one they're commenting back and forth. There have been one person had contacted me that was a law enforcement officer and asked about, there was this big thing going on out there in the community about the sheriff has body cams and he won't use them. And that was all over the place, and that was not true. And so I had a former law enforcement officer, and that was, I think, the only one I answered is, no, that's not true. We did not have body cams. We have never had body cams. We had car cameras. But when that got mixed up, people took it and ran, and it was incorrect. And you say contentious. I have been very, very fortunate for 3 terms, and I have always served all the people of the county. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you mentioned a minute ago, contentious with commissions, that people don't understand. I'm representing the public safety interests of the people of Mason County. I do not work for county commissioners. We are independently elected to have our own voice. And the office of the sheriff, as far as law enforcement, is considered one of the most sacred offices in all of elected officials, especially in law enforcement, because you are elected by the people that you serve. And that is something that people kind of forget. I grew up here. I taught school here. I went all the way through the school system here myself before becoming a teacher. My family and relatives and friends are here. And it has never made any difference to me, you know these other issues. Everybody gets the best service possible that we can give with the resources that we have.
In the last minute or two, look at this camera here and talk to the voters about why they should retain you as sheriff this upcoming election.
I think in anything, the most important thing is look at the training, the education, and the experience of the person running for office. I'm one of the few people, I'm the only one in the race, but one of the few people that has been, I've got a master's degree in education, I've got a master's degree, as master's certification in education administration, and I'm a graduate at FBI National Academy. And I think that we need to look at, in all these positions, the education, training, and experience of the individual, and then you can make up your mind.
He is running to stay the Mason County Sheriff. It's Casey Salisbury. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff.